So I myself have a media project that has like 20 plus podcasts and growing, and a lot of them are, all of them are focused on medical education, mental health, and like just pretty much anything health related. We Media is where culture changes. I think that is patently obvious if you look at social media and the rise of it over the past decade. And it's not always for good. It's not always for ill either. I think that the greater interest in mental health topics with average, real people who suffer from or know people who suffer from mental illness talking about this sort of thing is really effective at getting people to consider treatment. Just personal story. When I was in medical school, second year, going from philosophy to medical school was quite the adjustment. So there was a lot of stress involved, and I ended up suffering my own bout of depression. And I remember thinking I don't want to go see the psychiatrist at the school because then people would know I'm seeing a psychiatrist. And I have seen throughout the past decade that sort of sentiment has kind of gone more and more to the wayside. It's still present. Honestly, it's very present, it seems to me, in physicians who personally, don't necessarily want to get treated for mental illness. But to me, this is all of a piece. So Ars Longa Media grew out of my work on one podcast I started in my bedroom, classic, called Inside the Boards. My goal was to help medical students prepare for their United States medical licensing exams by providing, on-the-go study resources, maybe save them a little time, if they can, learn some stuff while they're listening to their headphones, working out or commuting or like brushing their teeth, whatever. But I did know that I wanted to do more or be involved in more things in media because of its potential to impact culture and a growing sense that the sorts of media that was being produced is not necessarily helping our culture, for instance, have conversations between people who disagree on fundamental issues, which is a large part of what I feel I learned to do in my undergrad studying philosophy. And, definitely I think we've all seen the polarization of culture in digital spaces. And so as I developed Inside the Boards and focused on helping medical students, I actually connected with ASAM back in 2020, I believe it was. And I was like, I want to do an Addiction 101 series for medical students, working with Dr. Kara Poland in Michigan, who runs the My Cares program, which kind of walks people who are attendings like me, who are interested in getting board certified through the practice pathway to board certification that the American Board of Preventive Medicine offers until 2025. For all you out there who may be interested, it's still possible. So we did this Addiction 101 series. I think the stats that at the time were that during medical school, the average student got something like 3-4 hours of specifically dedicated didactics related to addiction during the 4 years of medical school. And our podcast was getting like 15,000 medical students, roughly 10-ish% of medical students in their first 4 years on the journey to becoming a doctor. And we were able to do this series on addiction, which secondarily meant that I got to talk to a lot of people who know a lot more about addiction medicine than I do, and got a bunch of free great didactics. So there was that, but also a lot of, I think we made somewhat of an impact on getting the idea that addiction is a chronic brain disease. It belongs in the category of illness or disease. Medicine, presumably is devoted to the eradication of disease, the amelioration of pain, and the promotion of health. So kind of fits the domain of what we're supposed to do as doctors. I've always been concerned about medical students. I have observed with medical students that there is a certain idealism that impels all of us to go into this profession, and to a certain extent, it kind of gets trained out of you as you go through med school, then residency, and get into the trappings of the modern healthcare system. And I think that's absolutely tragic. I think it contributes to persistent stigmatization of people with mental illness and addiction in particular. And I think that we can use media to kind of change that conversation, to, ask questions that prompt more thought.